Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself the balance of my time to
Gentleman
close.
is recognized.
President Obama made two key promises to the American public. The first was that he would reduce the deficit by half in his first term of office. The second is that he would fix this broken economy in 3 years. Let's take a close look at those promises, looking first at the economy. Today, this is hard to believe, and I hope those at home are sitting down. But after all the bailouts, after all the stimulus, after all the cash for caulkers, the cash for clunkers, the deficit spending, the housing bailout, everything the president wished for and got in increased spending, we have fewer Americans working today than when this president took office. Think about it. There's fewer Americans working after all the president's economic policies have gone full bore, and it's failed the American public in such a way, there's fewer people working today than when this president took the oath of office. Look at the stimulus. This chart shows he promised the American public, if you'll just borrow and spend nearly $1 trillion with interest, our economy recover. In fact, he promised right now our unemployment rate would be around 6%. It's far above that, nearly 8.5%, but that doesn't tell the whole picture, because so many Americans have given up hope. So many Americans don't even look for a job anymore. They've just dropped out. We have the fewest people in the workforce than in almost 3 decades. They've just given up that much. Our unemployment rate is really nearly 16%, a little above it, as a matter of fact. This is an unemployment crisis. The president's policies, no question, he inherited a poor economy, to say the least. His policies have failed. He's made it worse for about 23 million Americans who can't even find a full-time job these days. If you want more of the same, stick with the president's budget. Stick with the Democrats' budget. They deliver more of the same, an economy that struggles like it hasn't since the Depression, and millions of Americans who just can't find work no matter how hard they try. The president promised he would reduce the deficit, cut it in half in his first term. Should have been able to do that. Instead, he's increased it by almost half. This is the $4th trillion deficit in a row. He proposes to spend so that we're at the largest government in American history. Larger even than World War II, when we dropped everything to win the war. He wants a government bigger than that, and deficits that go as far as the eye can see. Republicans believe we ought to have a choice of futures. And you look at the debt that's being piled on America in the future. Let me put that in real terms. We have 2 young boys. One's in 3rd grade and one's in 7th. They make our family a joy. And I think about what all this means to them, and you may be thinking about it for your kids, your grandkids. All that red ink this president's piled up, and the future of America with this debt. Today, a baby born today in America, their fair share of the debt is about $47,000. A baby born today owes Uncle Sam a new Lexus. If we don't change our ways, by the time they're 13, they'll owe Uncle Sam a second Lexus. And by the time they're 22 and they finish college, they're getting ready to start their life, they'll owe Uncle Sam a 3rd Lexus. Now, the good news is young people don't actually buy luxury sedans for the federal government, but they pay the price another way. For all that debt, they pay the price in a sluggish economy, in higher taxes, in higher interest rates. So that young person, starting their life after all that schooling, pursuing their dreams in America, they'll have a harder time finding a job. There'll be fewer of them, and they'll keep less in their paycheck as a result of this. That's the future if we stay the course with this president and Democrats in Congress. Republicans believe there's a better future for America, and the Republican budget does just that. It restores a healthy economy for America in a common sense way. It gets our financial house and future It starts limiting this out-of-control spending. It's starting taking away all the waste and abuse, sunsetting obsolete agencies, stopping this wasteful spending from stem to stern in the federal budget. It starts to tighten the federal government's belt and budget. It also, in addition to putting our financial house in order, it shrinks the size of government. It makes it affordable again for America. So not only that we balance the budget, the goal of the Republican budget is to pay off our debt. Think about it. Our goal is not to just break even again. It's start to whittle down and pay off those huge amounts of debt that we owe to so many in this world. It tackles important issues like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, preserves them for every generation once and for all. Social Security, for example, last year, America had to borrow $142 billion from China and other foreign investors just to pay Social Security for our seniors. We know Medicare goes bankrupt in 12 years unless we act. If we don't act today, Medicare ends itself as we know it. It ends itself. Republicans have a common sense proposal to preserve those important programs, to make them sustainable for every generation. And we do it without raising taxes. We know you can't take more from people and hope to grow the economy. We know that Washington ought to tighten its belt before we ask hardworking taxpayers to tighten theirs. We know that taxing professionals and small businesses, taxing our local energy companies who manufacture here in the United States. We know that taxing companies that are creating jobs in America is the wrong way to go. We're going to offer and are offering not just a choice of two futures, we're offering some hope to a country that despairs that it will ever see a balanced budget again. We're offering hope to a country that right now has a second-rate economy that some parts of the world make fun of, frankly. We're going to offer hope to businesses who want to compete again, both in their community and around the world, because today what they tell us is they're not adding jobs. With this debt hanging over us, with all the talk of new taxes and new regulation, they're not adding those jobs. Why would they? The Republican budget makes sure that we don't balance our budget on the backs of America's small businesses. We know the problem isn't that government doesn't take more of what you earn. The problem is that the federal government spends too much. We offer a path to prosperity to America. It's the only responsible budget that will be offered through this debate. I wish I could say the Senate will take it up, but for 3 years they've refused to give a budget to the American people. We're going to change the trajectory of America. We're going to change the future of America, and we're going to give hope back by passing the Republican budget. I yield back.